Alright, so we're here at Fisherman's Marine with Rick, and Rick is going to be talking to us about basic steelhead fishing gear, what we need to get into the sport, and maybe some different options for us.
Sounds great, yeah. Well, first and foremost, the two main things you want to start to anchor your system is a good rod and a good reel. Whether you want to do a spinning rod or whether you want to do a bait caster, you should take your time to make sure that you're getting something that's comfortable for you. For the new people starting out, we would probably recommend more of a spinning setup. I've got several different kinds here. Shimano makes a nice spinning rod in it for steelhead. It's a longer rod, 10/6. The longer rods are very good in the sense that they keep the line off the water. They tend to be a little bit more sensitive so you can see the potential bite. And then you've got Okuma, a little bit higher end, but a very nice rod, 6 to 12 pound rating, which means it associates with the line that you're using. So this rod here, you could use 6-pound test line up to 12-pound test line, and then that will optimize the cast for it. It also speaks to the heaviness of the weight. So, you know, 6 to 12 is a fairly classic steelhead rod. Not real heavy, but it also is going to be able to handle a bigger fish too, just because of the 12-pound end of it. So I would say that if you're going to fish for steelhead in systems like the Mechanicum or the smaller systems like up at the Kilchis, this would be a great rod. And then
okay, before we move on from that one, how do you tell the difference between a spinning rod and a bait casting rod?
So the two differences are, when I hold these up, this one, notice it doesn't have that little thumb hook right here.
Yeah.
So this is for a bait caster, meaning that the reel will actually sit up on top, and you use this in a sense to anchor yourself on the reel. And then a spinning reel will actually sit below, and so you won't have that hook in there.
Okay. And so for a beginner, the spinning reel is going to be an easier one to use, correct?
We think that it's an easier reel to start off with. It's there's a few more steps. You know, you turn the bail over, you cast it, but it is a little bit simpler because it doesn't have the potential to backlash like a bait caster does. And I can show you that a little bit later.
Okay. And so when we're talking the numbers, you were talking that 6 to 12 on that rod. So that refers to both the line weight that you should be using on the rod as well as the heaviness of the rod?
Yes, and think of it as just kind of a guideline. They're not hard set things.
Okay.
A lot of guys like to use a lighter rod even though there's a potential for bigger fish, just because maybe they like to play those fish a little bit. But typically out there you're using a 6 to 12 pound rod, 10 to 20 pound rod, or an 8 to 17. Those rods tend to be the most popular ones. We're finding more people are using more heavier rods because they want a rod that will also fish for other species. So an 8 to 17 or a 10 to 20 pound rod would also fish for coho, and in some cases, you know, spring chinook.
Okay, so if you want kind of that one and all rod, you'll be looking for that 10 to 20 range.
Yes, that's what I would recommend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whether it be a spinning or a bait casting rod.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what does it mean when something is heavy or medium?
So that's the play on the rod itself. So when you take a rod and you read it says, oh, this is a medium heavy rod, that means it's going to, where the bend of the rod is, it's going to indicate the heaviness of the rod. So when I bend this rod down, you know, I can say, well, it's bending toward the top of it, so it's going to be a little bit faster and is heavier.
Okay.
And then if I bend it and there wasn't any bend until, you know, way down here, you're talking about a noodle rod, you know, then it's super fast.
Okay.
And super light. So what we recommend is when you start off steelhead fishing, a medium rod would be perfect. If you want to go medium heavy, that's fine too. The medium light rods are very nice, typically for if you're drift fishing. You're bouncing eggs or corkies along the bottom and stuff like that. Those lighter rods tend to be a little bit more sensitive. And we can help out with all that kind of stuff and kind of eliminate the mystery
of
those type of things.